This is your first conditioning workout video. The whole exercise routine will take you about 45 minutes to work through. I'm going to demonstrate the whole mobility set, and then I'm going to give you one set of each of the phases of the workout. When you do it yourself, I would like you to do 3 sets of each phase, apart from the final plyometric phase, which is a little bit harder, and you might only want to do 2 sets instead of 3. I'll give you a more detailed description of the exercises, what they are, why we do them, why they're beneficial to you in the video description. The mobility set that we start off with is something I'd like you to do every day if possible. It would probably take about 5 to 7 minutes to work through, and they're all exercises that will help you with your running, but also if you sit lots, they're all great exercises to counteract the effect of sitting for long periods of time. Equipment wise, you don't need much. There's a couple of exercises that require light weight. If you don't have things like dumbbells and kettlebells at home, then you can substitute those for just a water bottle or a tin of beans, bottle of wine. But if you do have weights, then they're useful to have. When we get to the progressions, there are exercises that require resistance bands, and I will share links for you to be able to get some. They're not very expensive, and they're things that are really useful to have at home. So we'll start with the mobility set. Lying on your back, arms outstretched, knees and feet tight together, and you're going to roll your knees from side to side. So because of where my weights are, I'm a bit limited in how I can roll my knees from side to side. So just pretend that I'm rolling my knees completely from side to side. So when you're doing this, with your arms outstretched like this, just think about what your shoulders are doing. So as you roll your knees from side to side, you might find that your opposite shoulder comes off the ground. So I'd like you to think about just pushing your arms into the ground so your shoulders aren't lifting too much. You might find that then limits your range of movement and you can't get your knees all the way to the floor. That's fine. So when I'm doing this and pushing my shoulders down, when I roll that way, I can feel a little bit of a stretch in my armpit here and also in my sort of the side of my lower back as well. So in terms of time, about a minute for this, but if you're enjoying it and it's actually loosening up your back a little bit, then you can do it for longer. Then I want you to raise your arms up. So I've got my elbows still at shoulder height, backs of my hands resting on the floor, and again, just roll my knees from side to side. Having your arms raised will hopefully mean that you can now feel this in your mid-back as well as your lower back, and it might limit your range of movement again, having your arms up. Again, about a minute for this. So if you spent a long time sitting all week and you're enjoying it, then just do it for longer. So we're just going to do a couple more to each side. And then the next one, you can bring your arms back down again. I'm going to cross one leg over the other. So I've got the outside of my foot resting on my knee, and I'm going to roll from side to side again with my leg crossed. Now you should feel this gets into your hip a little bit. Again, it's a back mobility exercise, but having this leg crossed starts to get the feeling into your hip. About 30 seconds for each side for this one. And then change sides. So again, cross the outside of your foot across your knee and then roll from side to side. You don't have to work so hard on keeping your shoulders pushed down doing this phase as well. So I'll just do a couple more in this direction. And then both feet onto the floor. So feet on the floor, knees bent. Before you start to do this exercise, I want you to think about rolling your back into the floor so your entire back is flat to the floor. And then you're going to do some arm slides. To move. I'm hitting the dog bed. So your arms are going to start stretched up above your shoulders like that. And then you're going to slide your arms down the floor as low as you can. So you're trying to keep the backs of your hands and your elbows on the ground as you slide your arms up and down. This is a really nice exercise for thoracic mobility. So this is mid-back. I'm stroking my dog with each one. So nice big stretch up and then down. So depending on how tight your mid-back is, that will limit your range of movement. So if your mid-back is very tight, You may only get your arms to here, keeping your elbows on the floor. That's fine. Hopefully as you get more mobile, you'll be able to get your arms a bit lower down. Good, and then moving on to the next exercise. So this is, I call it very imaginatively, a side chest opener. You need to have something under your head doing this. If you have your head just resting on the floor, it can be quite uncomfortable for your neck. I'm just using my foam roller for convenience, but you can use a cushion or a blanket or a rolled up towel under your head. So you're going to lie on your side with both arms extended out in front of you, and then I want you to drop your top leg over. So I'm just going to move back a little bit so you can see me properly. So drop the top leg over your lower leg like that. This is to anchor your hips in place, and that knee needs to stay on the floor, and then you're going to open up that top arm. So again, I'm a bit limited with range of movement because of the wall, but you'll be able to get your arm all the way over. So I like to do this looking at my hand. If that makes you feel a bit dizzy, then you can keep looking straight ahead as you open that top arm up. If you're doing this and you're finding that your knee is coming off the ground, use that lower arm to anchor your knee in place to stop your knee from moving and your hips from moving. So this is a really good exercise for opening up your chest and also for thoracic mobility as well. If you let that hip rock back, your lower back will sort of take over some of the movement and you won't get so much of the feeling in your mid back. So having your knee on the floor is really important. And then change sides. So when I do it with my clients, most people really love this exercise. So I'll say about 30 to 45 seconds on each side, but you might find that you want to do it for a lot longer. So again, that knee dropped over, I'm going to anchor that in place and then open that top arm up. When you're following the video, if you find that you want to do this for longer, then just pause the video and keep going until you want to move on to the next exercise. So I'm just going to do one more and then done. Next one, cat to cow. So you're going to go onto all fours, hands underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hips. And you arch and dip, trying to get as much range of movement as you can doing this. So these mobility exercises, there's a big focus on your back. So if you do have any back issues or you ever get any soreness through your back, these exercises are really good. So I'll just do a couple more of those. And then we're going to move into a thoracic rotation. So we're going to do this with one foot forward. So I've got my left foot forward, my right hand's coming down to the ground. So before I even start to move, I'm feeling a little bit of a stretch through my hips. And then you're going to reach that arm round and then feed that arm through. It's sometimes called threading the needle. So you're threading your arm in front of your shin and behind that resting arm. 30 seconds for each side is about enough for this one. And then change sides. So bring that leg forward. Hand comes down, reach, and then feed through. Again, I do this looking at my hand. If that makes you feel dizzy, just keep looking straight down at the floor. Just do one more. And then done. So moving on to the activation set. Just double checking my notes. No equipment needed. I've got my bench set up in the corner because one of the exercises involves using that. So one of the exercises you can do it on a raised surface. So have something in mind. You can use a chair anchored against a wall, or you can use a kitchen work surface or table. First exercise, we're going to start off with core activation exercises to begin with. So the first one is a static dead bug. This one features in the short core stability workout that I gave you as well. So on your back, bring your arms up, bring your legs up. You're going to hold this static dead bug position for 30 seconds. So no movement whatsoever. If it feels like your back is arching off the floor, just bring your knees in towards your chest a little bit. But ideally, right angles. Knees above hips, hands above shoulders, feet at knee height. And then after 30 seconds, you're going to move into an arms only dead bug. So your feet stay where they are. and your arms are moving behind your head. To make this more comfortable for your shoulder joints, I want you to do this with your thumb going down to the floor and really think about reaching behind you. So imagine you've got ropes attached to your hands, and when you reach back, the arms are being kind of pulled back. And hopefully you should feel this working in your tummy, kind of navel downwards. So the arm movement, it's a little bit of shoulder mobility, but the idea of the arm movement is throwing you off balance a little bit, so your core has to work a little bit harder. One more on each side. And then roll onto your side, moving into a clamshell. Lying on your side, head resting in your hands, other hand on the floor in front of you. Bring your heels up so they're in line with your bottom, and you're just going to bring that top leg up. So I'm keeping my heels together and my toes are coming apart. 30 seconds on each side for this. And be aware of what your top hip is doing. So when you bring that leg up, if you feel like you're rocking backwards, you can put your hand in the small of your back just to keep that top hip directly above your lower hip. You should feel this about here in your bum. If you let yourself rock back, your lower back will take over and do most of the work, and you may even feel it in your hamstrings. If it feels uncomfortable to hold your hand in your back like that, then you can lie against a wall or you could lie against a sofa to keep you anchored in place. So it's 30 seconds on each side. I'm just going to do one more and then change sides. So again, all the way down, legs curled up, got my feet in line with my bum, core braced as well, and then lift that top leg. You may find that you feel it more quickly on one side than the other. If one side is a bit dominant and works more than the other, it'll fatigue more quickly. So my right side is dominant and I can feel it biting in here very quickly. So I'll just do one more and then rest. Next exercise, alternate arm and leg extensions. On all fours, before you start to move, brace your core slightly. So just pull your tummy up towards your spine ever so slightly. Make sure that your hands are under your shoulders, knees under your hips, and then start to move alternate arm and leg. So when you lift your arm, you want your hand to come up to shoulder height and no higher, and your thumb pointing up to the ceiling. And then foot height, you want your foot to be at the same height as your bum. What you want to avoid doing is your leg coming up really high, because it will just make your back arch and your back will take over and your core won't be working as effectively. So a lower leg movement is better. If you do this and you find that you're really unstable and wobbling around a lot, start with arms only, do a few of those, then do some legs only, and then move back into the full movement. 45 seconds for this one, so I'm just going to do one more on each side. Good, and then rest. Next one, bridge. So rolling onto your back again, arms down by your side, feet quite close to your bum, so you should be able to reach your feet nice and easily. If your feet are too far out, your hamstrings will do too much work. So feet nice and close to your bum, push your hips up, and then slowly lower your bum down to the floor. Let your bum just kiss the floor lightly, and then push up again. So I want you to do a quick push up, and then a slow lower down to the floor. That's the bit where your core's working. Push up quickly, lower down slowly. Ideally, you're going to push your hips up to full extension. If you can feel it tugging in your lower back at all, just limit your range of movement. So lift up to about 80%. That'll stop your back from arching too much. And it's 45 seconds for this one. So you should feel this primarily in your bum. You may also feel it when you're in the top part of the exercise in your core as well. Just do one more. Good. And then come up onto your knees. So we're going to do a press up. If you have good upper body strength, then you can do this as a full body press up. So that's in that position. If your upper body strength isn't brilliant, rather than dropping down to your knees to do the exercise, choose a raised surface. So you could do a full body press up, so that's on your feet, on like a kitchen work surface or a sturdy table. I don't have that available, so I'm going to do this on my bench. So the hand position, I want you to have your hands directly underneath your shoulders. So when you're pressing, your hands are coming alongside your body. No wide arms. I want you to press up in that position. That gets your upper back and triceps working more, and they're really important muscles to help you when you run. So hands at shoulder width apart. If you're doing this on a raised surface, think chest to the surface that you're using. If you're doing this on the floor, chest all the way down to the floor and then push up. And if you are working against the floor, think about pushing the floor away from your body. It's 30 seconds for this one, so just do one more. Good, and then rest. So that's the end of the activation set. Pause the video, repeat that 2 more times. So you're doing 3 sets in total. Then we're going to move on to the anti-rotation set. So for the anti-rotation set, you do need a weight for this one. I've got a dumbbell, but if that's not something you have, then just use anything you can hold in one hand. So first exercise, we're actually getting up off the floor at last. We're standing up. Step backs. This is an exercise that we had in the pre-run warm-up videos. So you stand on one leg, push your bum back. So even before you start to move, you should hopefully feel a little bit of a stretch in your hamstring. Your glute might also feel like it's already working. Weight to that leg stays absolutely still, and you're going to step back and forward like that. So it's a nice light step forward and back, stepping back as far as you can. And you might find that the leg that you're standing on wobbles around a little bit. As your core strength improves, you will become more stable. And then change sides. So before you start to move, just stabilise yourself, get that bum pushed back, core braced, and then step forward and back. So I like to hold my hands to my chest when I'm doing this, but I don't want my arms to help me at all. If I have my arms out to the side or my hips too much, it would help to stabilise me. Having them up here takes your arms out of the equation. The idea of this exercise is this moving leg is destabilising you, so your other leg has to work hard. Just do one more. Good, and done. Next one, kneeling single arm press. So you'll need a weight for this. Take 1 foot forward and think right angles. I've got my foot directly underneath my knee and that leg behind me, so I can see lots of right angles. I've got my left leg forward and I'm going to press with my right hand, but that arm is going to be raised. Reason being, if you rotate or twist or dip, that hand will move, and it acts as a really good cue to see that your shoulders are nice and level. Point the weight into the room, so it's pointing forward, and then press upwards. So what I can immediately feel is the glute on my back leg is working to stabilise me as I'm pressing. Obviously my arm is working, so my upper body is working, but I can also feel my core working. This is a really good anti-rotation exercise. So my body wants to rotate away from the weight, and I'm working really hard to stabilise myself and stop that rotation from happening. Change sides. So running, there is potentially a lot of rotation when you run through your pelvis, through your waist, through your shoulders, and having a really good core strength that allows you to brace against that rotation, particularly as you're running faster or when you're getting tired, will really help to mitigate injury risk. Particularly for women, because we have wider and more unstable pelvises, so we're much more likely to get knee and ankle injuries than men. One more, and then rest. So that's 30 seconds on each side for that one. Next one, a single leg bridge. Onto your back. Arms stand by your side, so you can stabilise yourself a little bit. Push your hips up. Before you start to move, brace your core, get your bum working, so squeeze your glutes a little bit. Bring one leg off the floor, so not very high off the ground, and you're going to push up and down on one leg. Now, this is very challenging, particularly if your glutes are weak. So what you might find when you're doing this is that you're collapsing onto that leg. So that leg that's raised, if you can see that you're collapsing on one side, you're not ready to do this yet. If you can't keep your hips level, Then just go back to the normal bridge with your arms raised above your shoulders. Change sides, so push up, bring that leg up, and then push up and down. This is a glute exercise, as I can feel. 30 seconds on each side for this one. I'm just going to do a couple more. Good. And then stand up. Side lunge with a leg raise. So you lunge out to the side, slowly back to the centre, and then bring that same leg up. So it's out to the side, back to the centre, raising that leg. And again, I've got my hands just held to my chest. I don't want them to help me. What I'm trying to do with these exercises is to work every bit of your pelvic region, pelvic girdle region in every plane of movement. So replicating running as much as possible. Okay, just do one more. And you can probably hear that I'm getting out of breath now as well. Change sides. So when I do this, I can't raise my leg as far on this side because my right leg is the dominant one and everything's a little bit tight through that side. So it's more challenging. And what I always do is choose my dominant side first. So with a lot of these exercises, think about the outward movement is quicker, the return movement is slower. That return movement is when your stabilizing muscles are working that little bit harder, so it's better for your core strength. Just do one more. Good, and then back onto your back again. Single-sided dead bugs. You'll need a weight again for this. So you're going to lie on your back, bring your arms up above your shoulders with a weight in one hand, and then bring your feet up off the ground. Your arms are going to stay still. So one arm's going to stay still, the arm with the weight, and the other side is going to move. So I've got my left arm and my left leg still, and my right arm and right leg are moving. And you should find this more challenging than the arms only dead bug at the start of the session. 30 seconds on each side for this one. Maybe I'm tapping my dog bed yet. So you should feel this a little bit differently. You should feel it in your waist, and you might feel it on the side that you're holding the weight. You may feel it in the other side, depending on where you're strong. And then change sides, get yourself stable, and then extend. Any exercise like this, where you're extending your arm and leg, that can make your back arch a little bit, so really work on keeping your back flat to the floor. If you're struggling with that, limit your range of movement. Don't extend your leg completely. Keep it a little bit bent, not all the way to the floor, and you'll find it easier to keep your back flat. So I'll just do one more, and then rest. Good. That's the end of the anti-rotation set. So pause the video and repeat that twice more. I want you to do 2 more sets of those exercises. So our final set is the plyometric work. So we're finishing with the hardest work. You should get quite out of breath doing these. I will, so I'll try and keep on speaking to you. Might have to just watch me. So the first exercise is going back to that step back, but you're going to go into a high knee or a hop. So step back and then drive that knee up. So I'll show you the easiest one at the moment. You can see already how much I'm wobbling. So step back and then knee up like that. Oh, the concentration. I'm using an exaggerated running arm movement for this, which is deliberate. One more. I'm going to change sides. I always get the wrong arm and wrong leg combination when I start this. That's it. And I've done 2 balance and stability classes this morning, so my legs have just gone, nope, we're done. One more. 30 seconds on each side for that one. I've not done that one for quite as long, but I want to show you the next phase. So if you find that step back to a high knee relatively easy, then you can try the next one. So that's step back to a hop. So what I would do is I would do 30 seconds on each side of the step back to the high knee and then have a go at the hopping movement. So a lot of balance required for that, which is why it's so good for running, because running is just lots of single leg hops. So doing any hopping movements will make you a better runner. And now for balance, I need to do the side. Oops. Honestly, I can do this. Keep your core braced, it will help. Good. Next one. God, that was horrible. They're really good for you, I promise. So, a half burpee into a balance. So I'm actually going to start standing up. So you're going to go down into a burpee, out, in, and then go into a balance, like that. So jumping out, jumping in, and then balance. Landing with your feet in a squat position, which is better for your hips. If you're really struggling with this, the regression, step out, step in, and then balance. Changing legs each time. 30 seconds for that one, it's quite hard, you can hear I'm puffing. So try the harder version, so that's stepping, jumping out, jumping in and balancing. If you're really struggling with that, go for the step out and step in, and then work on progressing up to the jumping out and jumping in. Give me a sec. Next one then, side lunge with a high knee. Yeah, I'm really fit. I had COVID a while ago. It's taking a while to get over it. So side lunge with a high knee. I'm gonna go out to the side and then bring that knee up. So it's similar to an exercise that we did in the harder warm-up for the difficult speed runs. So it's lunging out to the side, bigger side lunge than you did for that warm-up, and then really driving that knee as high as you can. So out to the side, knee as high as you can. We're trying to get your knee above hip height, and then change sides. So it's 30 seconds on each side. I'm keeping it simple for timings. It's either 30 seconds times 2 or 45 seconds for this first workout. Again, so nice big lunge, drive that knee up. Let's do 2 more. Good. Next one is a push-off press-up. So I always do this on a raised surface. You have to have a really good level of upper body strength to do a push-off press-up from the floor. So use a raised surface. A high raised surface, like a table or a kitchen work surface, will be easier. A lower raised surface that I'm going to use, you need to get onto your knees. So hands a little bit wider apart than you had for the first set of press-ups. Chest to your surface, and then push off completely upright if you're kneeling. If you're standing, you don't have to get completely upright. So it's good to do some plyometric work for your upper body as well. When you're doing speed work, particularly hill reps, you really need a good strong arm drive. So elbows back, pocket to socket, nice high hands. So doing work like this that gives you a bit of plyometric strength through your arms and upper back, very useful. We'll just do 2 more. Good, and then rest. And the last one for this set is a little thing I call a deadlift jump. So you're going to stand with your feet hip width apart. So if you're doing a deadlift, it's that same position. And you're going to tap the floor in between your heels. So you're getting into kind of a deadlift position and then jump from there. So you're doing a jump, trying to use your glutes and hamstrings to drive up as much as possible. When you run, you want your glutes to work as well as they possibly can to provide power and also to help stabilize you and absorb impact when you land. So doing jumping exercises like this help your glutes to work and will help to prevent things like calf injuries. 2 more. Good, and rest. Whew. So, I'm nice and warm now anyway. So that's the end of the plyometric set. Again, it's 5 exercises. Pause the video and do at least 1 more set of these. I'd like you to work up to doing 4 sets of the plyometric exercises. And if you find that it's too long on each exercise, so I've given you 30 seconds for all of these, then just reduce it. Do 20 seconds of each exercise or on each side and do 4 sets. So I'd rather you did a shorter amount of time on each exercise and more sets. Right, stretching, hooray. So we're going to do a quick stretch to finish off with, starting off with child pose, because that's how I finish every class. So down, like that. Get your heels on your bum, arms outstretched. Take some nice deep breaths, get your heart rate down. And then push up into downward dog. Do a few little knee dips if you need to. And then down onto your knees. 1 foot forward, tuck your hips under, push forward. And then change sides. Hips forward, push forward. Good, and then stand up. Quad stretch, gut leg back arch, bum tucked under. Change sides. And cross one leg over the other. Lower yourself down, push that leg away slightly. That's a good one. And then release, change sides. And then stand up. Just finish off with a few shoulder rolls back and shoulder rolls forward. And you're done. Well done.